Hello all. Today's topic is carcinoma of stomach, that is CA stomach. So the age group that is affected with CA stomach is 40 to 60 years of age. The etiological factors we will see. It includes gastric polyp, then pernicious anemia, post-gastrectomy stomach, then gastritis, gastric mucosal dysplasia, smoking, then long standing dysplasia, then it may be genetic, and rarely the ulcer may turn malignant. So these are the etiological factors that may lead to malignancy of stomach. Now we'll see the pathology of CA stomach. Macroscopically there are about 5 types. First type is cauliflower like growth with sharply defined edges. So first type includes cauliflower, there may be a cauliflower like growth. Then second one is there may be ulcer that is with irregular and indurated edges. Indurated is hardening of the edge. Ulcer with irregular and indurated edges. Usually these edges or the margins are rolled out everted margins are there. Then third one is colloid carcinoma. In colloid carcinoma there may be submucous of subserous coat that are infiltrated with mucoid material. So in colloid carcinoma which is highly malignant type, where the submucous or the subserous coats are infiltrated with mucoid material. Then fourth type is serous carcinoma. Serous carcinoma may be localized or it may be diffuse. The localized serous carcinoma, it is limited to pyloric region, and the diffuse, it includes the wall of whole stomach gets grossly thickened. That means in diffuse serous carcinoma what happens is the wall of whole stomach will get grossly thickened. The stomach is contracted, it becomes rigid with narrowing of the lumen, or it may also be called as leather bottle stomach or linitis plastica. So this is serous carcinoma which is localized or it may be diffuse, which includes whole of the stomach. Then fifth type is secondary to chronic gastric ulcer. So chronic gastric ulcer may turn malignant in about 0.5% of cases. There are chances that chronic gastric ulcer may turn malignant. Then microscopically the lesions are limited to submucosa. The growth is usually columnar celled or it may be cuboidal or squamous cells. The common site is prepyloric region. So these are the pathological changes that occur in CA stomach. Then spread of cancer. Spread of cancer, it may be direct, it may be through lymphatics, or it may be blood spread, or by transperitoneal route. So when there is direct spread, it may be by continuity or it may be by contiguity. It invades the neighboring structures like pancreas, transverse colon, mesocolon, esophagus and liver. So this CA may invade the neighboring structures of the stomach like pancreas, transverse colon, mesocolon, esophagus and liver. The lymphatic spread is by emboli and by permeation. Then third route is bloodstream, and last one is transperitoneal implantation. The CA cells from stomach may enter into peritoneal cavity, the cells, and they may spread the CA cancer. Then we will move towards the clinical features of carcinoma of stomach. This CA stomach is difficult to diagnose early because there is time lag between the commencement of tumor or growth and appearance of symptoms, and there is diversity in its presentation, so it is very difficult to diagnose early. There will be gastric distension. Patient is unable to take normal meal. There will be vomiting. Then there will be anorexia that will lead to loss of weight, and that will lead to anemia, tiredness, weakness, pallor. There is persistent pain, and there is no periodicity of that pain. There will be no response to the treatment also. So these are the clinical features which are very difficult. This CA stomach is difficult to diagnose in early cases because there is a time lag between commencement of tumor or growth and appearance of symptoms, and it has a diversity in its presentation, so it is difficult to diagnose early. So clinical features includes gastric distension, there will be inability to take normal meals, there is vomiting, anorexia that will lead to loss of weight, and because of that anorexia there will be that may lead to anemia, tiredness, weakness and pallor. There will be persistent pain which doesn't respond to treatment, and there is no periodicity. There are various clinical groups, that is CA stomach clinical features of carcinoma of stomach, they are divided. First clinical group is new dyspepsia after 40 years. When there is persistent indigestion with patient who never had stomach problem or stomach trouble previously, that is first clinical group, that is new dyspepsia after 40 years. Then you have to suspect that this patient may have CA stomach. Once again I will repeat, first clinical group is new dyspepsia after 40 years of age. If a person complains of persistent indigestion, that patient who never had stomach trouble previously, so you have to suspect CA stomach in that case. Then second one is insidious onset, mostly in man. It occurs in males and it includes 3 A's, that is when there is anemia, anorexia and asthenia. The patient feels tired, weak with iron deficiency or macrocytic anemia. This is the insidious onset. So you have to remember in insidious onset the 3 A's, that is patient is anemic, he will have anorexia, that is loss of appetite, and third one is asthenia, that is weakness. Then third one is the obstructive type. When there is obstruction at cardia, that is when there is CA cardia, that is upper end, that will lead to dysphagia, that is if difficulty in swallowing. And second one is CA pylorus, that is if the carcinoma is malignancy that is present at the pylorus, then patient will complain of fullness, belching and vomiting. So in obstructive type, you have to remember two conditions, that is CA cardia where there is dysphagia and CA pylorus where there is fullness, belching and vomiting. Then fourth clinical group is lump. There may be a palpable lump in epigastrium. So you can this is fourth clinical group that includes when there is any lump that is present in the epigastrium, a palpable lump that is present in the epigastrium. Then fifth one is silent carcinoma, that is carcinoma of body of stomach may be silent but gives rise to features to other organs, like if there is obstructive jaundice, ascites or Krukenberg's tumor of ovary, and the trousers sign that is present, that is left supraclavicular lymphadenopathy is present, that is the CA which is silent, CA body of stomach which is mostly silent type, and it will give rise to features to other organs, that is obstructive or jaundice, ascites, Krukenberg's tumor of ovary and the trousers signs, that is left supraclavicular lymphadenopathy. So these are the various variations of CA stomach that you have to investigate the patient of CA stomach thoroughly. Then you will come to know whether the patient is having CA stomach or not. So so these are the 5 clinical groups. First one is new growth after 40 years. If the patient is above 40 and first time he is complaining of persistent indigestion, then you have to investigate that patient accordingly. Then second one is insidious onset, that will include anorexia, anemia and asthenia. So if the patient is having these 3 A's, that is anorexia, anemia or asthenia, then you have to investigate that patient. Then next one is obstructive type, when there is if the patient is complaining of dysphagia or if the patient is complaining of fullness and vomiting. If patient is complaining of dysphagia, then there may be CA cardia, or if there is fullness and vomiting, most of the time the patient's complaints are of fullness or vomiting, then that may be because of CA pylorus. Next one is lump, that is palpable lump in epigastrium, and last one is silent, that includes that is because of or mostly because of CA of body of stomach, and it will give rise to features of other organs like obstructive jaundice, ascites or Krukenberg's tumor of ovary, and the trousers sign is present, that is left supraclavicular lymphadenopathy. Then investigations, you have to do hemogram, because there is anemia that is present in about 45% of cases. The patients are anemic, so you have to do hemogram. Then there may be occult blood in stool in 80% of cases, so you have to do stool examination. Then you have to do the radiological examination, that is barium meal examination. Then gastric secretion analysis is done for achlorhydria or hypochlorhydria. Then you have to do gastroscopy. In gastroscopy, it includes the if the nodularity is present, or where there is if there are severe irregular ulcers are present, or whether there is multicolored base is present, or whether there is immobility of adjacent mucosa, that you have to investigate. Then exfoliative cytology is done, that is examination of cells that are found in washings after gastric lavage. So you have to do the exfoliative cytology. And lastly, you have to do the laparotomy. If there is still reasonable doubts after all the tests, then the laparotomy is done. Then the treatment of CA stomach includes, if the CA is localized, you can go for partial gastrectomy, and if it is diffuse, then go for total gastrectomy. That is the treatment. So once again we'll take a review, that is of CA stomach. The etiological factors are gastric polyp, pernicious anemia, post-gastric stomach, gastritis, gastric mucosal dyspepsia, smoking, long-standing dyspepsia, or it is genetic, and rarely the ulcer may turn malignant. Pathologically, there are various types. Macroscopically, there may be a cauliflower-like growth, or there may be a ulcer with irregular edges, or the CA may be colloidal, or it may be serous carcinoma, or it may be secondary to chronic gastric ulcer. And microscopically, this is limited to the submucosa, and the growth may be columnar cells, or it may be cubical or squamous. And this common site for CA stomach is pre-pyloric region. The spread of cancer is direct, lymphatic, blood, through blood, or transperitoneal routes. And the clinical features will include gastric distension, anorexia, anemia, tiredness, asthenia, weakness. There will be loss of weight. There will be persistent pain which doesn't respond to any treatment, and there will be no periodicity. Then there are various clinical groups. That is first group is new growth after 40 years. Then there may be in serious onset. The CA stomach may be because of obstructive type, or because of if the lump is present in the epigastrium, or it may be silent. Then various investigations you have to do, that is hemogram, stool examination, barium examination, then a gastric secretion analysis, and gastroscopy, and cytological examination. And lastly, if there is a doubt, then you will go for laparotomy. And the treatment is, if the CA is localized, then go for partial gastrectomy, and if it is diffuse, then you have to do total gastrectomy. The next topic is hypertrophied pyloric stenosis. Hypertrophied pyloric stenosis of infants. The definition includes, it is a congenital condition of pyloric obstruction. The incidence of hypertrophic pyloric stenosis is about 3 to 4 per 1000 live births. from 1000 live births, 3 to 4 infants may have hypertrophied pyloric stenosis. And the male as to female ratio is 9s to male, 9s to 1, and mostly first born male child may have this condition. The cause of hypertrophic pyloric stenosis is unknown, but achalasia, that is primary failure of pylorus to relax, may be one of the cause, or it may be a familiar in origin. Pathologically, the pyloric enteral muscles undergo hypertrophy that will proceed distally. This hypertrophy will proceed distally. Then the circular muscle fibers of pylorus, they are affected. The mesial layer is so thick that it compresses the mucosa, and only fine probe can be passed. Then hypertrophy terminates abruptly, leaving the duodenum normal. So these are the pathological changes where there is pyloric enteral muscles, they are undergo hypertrophy. This hypertrophy will proceed distally. Then circular muscle fibers of pylorus, they are affected, and the muscle layer becomes so thick that it will compress the mucosa, and only a fine probe can be passed through it. The clinical features includes this condition is mostly seen in first-born male baby, and 3 to 6 weeks of life, may be early as late as 7 weeks. The onset of symptom will be there. So the onset of symptom is in 3 to 6 weeks of life. There will be vomiting, which is forcible, it is projectile, and after every feed, the infant will vomit, and that vomiting is forcible and projectile. There will be no bile, and that infant will feels hungry after vomiting. There will be visible peristalsis after feeding. The palpable lump under liver may be present. Then there will be constipation, small and dry hard stool that is present. There will be weight loss. That infant will look emaciated and dehydrated. The urine output is decreased. So these are the clinical features. Most important clinical feature is vomiting, and the onset of these symptoms are seen in 3 to 6 weeks of life. So the vomiting is forcible, it is projectile, and after every feed the infant will vomit. There will be no bile, that baby will be hungry after vomiting, and there will be visible peristalsis after feeding. So as there is forcible vomiting after every feed, that baby will have constipation and he will have weight loss. Baby will look emaciated and dehydrated, and as there is vomiting after every feed, obviously the urine output will be decreased. Then investigations are diagnosis is made on careful clinical examination. The X-ray is rarely necessary. In barium meal study, there is elongation and narrowing of pyloric canal, that is same. The differential diagnosis is intracranial hemorrhage, duodenal atresia, and high intestinal obstruction. In high intestinal obstruction, there will be bile in vomitus. The treatment is Ramstad's operation. This can be asked for 2 marks question. That is, what is the treatment for hypertrophic pyloric stenosis of infants? That is Ramstad's operation. Okay, this is all about the hypertrophic pyloric stenosis of infants. The next topic is Plummer-Vinson syndrome. This is mostly seen in middle-aged women. There will be patient will complain of difficulty in swallowing. There will be spells of retching with fear of choking. The tongue is pale. It is smooth without any papillae, without inflammation. The fingernails will be brittle. There is koilonychia. The spleen is enlarged. The bone marrow is devoid of iron stores. There is achlorhydria. So whenever a patient comes to you, that is often with middle-aged woman complaining of difficulty in swallowing, there are spells of retching with fear of choking. The tongue is pale, smooth, and without papillae, without inflammation. The fingernails are brittle. There is koilonychia. The spleen is enlarged. There is achlorhydria. There is hypochromic anemia. Dysphagia is present before anemia. So there is difficulty in swallowing is the most important clinical features, along with these other complaints, that is brittle fingernails, and tongue will be pale, smooth, without papillae, without inflammation. The spleen is enlarged. The dysphagia is due to spasm of circular muscle fibers at extreme upper portion of esophagus. Then the mucous membrane is hyperkeratotic in some places and desquamated in other. The mucosa is easily friable and damaged. Then in long-standing cases, only pinhole orifice is present and it is precancerous. The treatment is dilatation of stricture through the esophagoscope. It should be done gently because mucosa is delicate and it is friable. Then the medicinal treatment is tablet ferrous sulfate 300 mg TID with vitamins, intramuscular or intravenous iron or blood transfusion. So this is Plummer-Vinson syndrome. Once again I will repeat: a middle-aged woman with difficulty in swallowing. There will be spells of retching with fear of choking. Then the tongue, which is pale, smooth, without papillae, without inflammation. The nails are brittle. There will be koilonychia. The spleen is enlarged. The blood picture will show hypochromic anemia. and the dysphagia is due to spasm of the circular muscle fibers at extreme upper portion of esophagus. The mucosa, if you investigate, then the mucosa is easily friable. It gets easily damaged. In long-standing cases, only a pinhole orifice is present and it is precancerous. The treatment of this Plummer-Vinson syndrome is dilatation of stricture through the esophagoscope. And this procedure should be done very gently because the mucosa is delicate and it is friable. Then the medicinal treatment that is given is either tablet ferrous sulfate 300 mg TID with vitamins, or you have to give intravascular or intravenous injections of iron, or the blood transfusion may be required. Okay, this is all about today, that is the three topics, that is CA stomach, the hypertrophic pyloric stenosis of infants, and the Plummer-Vinson syndrome. This hypertrophic pyloric stenosis and Plummer-Vinson syndrome, they are asked for short notes in exams, and the 2-mark question that may be asked as the treatment of hypertrophic pyloric stenosis, that is Ramstad's operation. The CA stomach can be asked for as a 10 marks question. Okay, that's all about today. That's all for today. Thank you.